I'm Kat and I play Red. One of the things I really enjoy about doing this is I get to see a lot of games in their prototype format, and I then get to see the glow up, and that's really nice, not only in terms of production but some of the rules that have changed a bit. This is one of those games, and in fact we played the prototype on this table with the designer. Fancy. So today we are going to have a look at Crossing Oceans, aka Transatlantic 2, designed by Gerdts and produced by PD-Verlag. Let's have a look at it. In Crossing Oceans, you play as a shipping agent in the early 1900s, maintaining regular routes from Europe to the rest of the world. Newer ships will push your rivals out of ports. Having a faster ship means you can compete for the prestigious Blue Ribbon Award. Supply your steamships with coal so they can earn you money. But don't forget, your opponents will also want to buy the biggest and fastest ships available. All the ship tiles have been piled accordingly. I'm terrible at knocking things over, so we have two piles. But we have the 9s at the bottom going, if I do that, that's one big pile, with the 1s out on the display. At the start of the game, we randomly distributed the 0 ships. And depending on the age of that, determines which ship you'll start with on the board. Now, the age of the ship you drew is relevant to the age of the ship on the board. I actually drew the oldest ship, so I then get the newest ship on the board, which is the Cutty Sark, which means I am the starting player. We've got this set up for 2 players. So the South Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean are basically blocked off. If you have 3 players, you're going to have, can't remember which one of these open, 4 players, all are open. But for 2 players, you're primarily dealing with these 3 regions. Each player's turn has 3 phases. 2 of which you must do and 1 of which is optional, and they're shown on the board here. Firstly, you must either place a ship or take a contract. You're going to place a ship from your personal supply and place it onto the game board. If you cannot or don't want to do that, you're going to take a contract instead. When placing a ship, choose which region you wish to place it in. If there are empty spaces, then you're going to take one of those empty spaces. If the region is full, you'll actually replace the oldest ship in the area, which are marked with these red lanterns. Your ship must also be newer than the one it's replacing. Remove any coal that might be on the ship, return it to the supply. So let's say I boshed Rob out of here, which I wouldn't because it's not full. But he would get the ship and his captain back. Any coal on it would go back, and I'd then pop my marker onto my ship in that region. I'd also get a coal on it because it's a steamship. The second phase in your turn is to use contracts. Now this is an optional action. You're going to start the game with 1 contract and obviously possibly gain them in phase 1 here. You can trade in 1 contract for 20 money, 1 coal or extra movement on the rundell, which we'll talk about in a bit. Alternatively, you can spend 2 contracts to build a trade house. This will also give you a trade marker, the green, white and red tiles here. Trade houses will generate income for you over the course of the game and also give you some end game points. If I were to take any of these contracts, they'd be free to pop on the board. However, as you get lower down, they will cost you money to place on your board. These will also give you endgame points. The third phase of your turn is to take one of the rondel actions. But before we look at the rondel, let's have a look at a ship tile. Now the starting ships are slightly different, so we're going to have a look at one of these. So here we have the year the ship was built. So its age, the name of the ship, the income it will generate, your cost to buy it, its speed in knots and its tonnage. Also, whenever you buy a ship from the market here or the docks down here, you're going to get one of these flag tokens. And these again will help you with endgame scoring. When I got my initial ship here, it came with a black flag. So that's just sat on top of my board there for now. So let's have a look at the rondel actions. At the start of the game, your captain's going to sit in the middle. And for your first action, you can move him anywhere on the wheel. After that though, you can only move up to 3 spaces. So if my first action had been a region action, I could only move 3. However, if you remember, if I'd spent a contract, I could go wherever I wanted on the wheel. So we're going to pop him back in there for now and look at these rondel actions. Now, there are 2 spots for ships. The ships action, simply put, lets you buy ships. You can buy up to 3 ships from either the marketplace and or the docks. Pay the cost shown and any additional cost shown on the board here. So this ship here would cost me 90 plus the 10. City of Berlin would cost me 70 plus 20 and so on. Once you've bought your ship, so let's just say very quickly, I bought these 2. Regardless of how many ships were bought, you're always going to place 3 onto the board. So if I move these down, there's only actually room for 2. So 1, 2. I've moved this first ship here over to the marked spot on the docks. If there was already a blue ship there, it would be boshed out and discarded, ready for this one to move in. So I'd put 3 more ships into the dock, and don't forget to put the appropriate flag tokens onto them. When your stack of ships is empty, that will trigger the game end. You'll play 3 more rounds and then go to final scoring. So let's pop these back in a random order and push these back down for now. Going back to the rondel, that one was there. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the fleet action. Now, the fleet action will let you generate income. We start with clippers on the board. So here you can see they've got the no coal symbol. So these little guys have sails. They don't need coal to activate. Whereas all of the other ships coming into play will require coal. If I have a ship on the board and it has a coal on it, this is considered a ready ship. So the fleet action will allow you to generate income from all of your ready ships. So in this case, I could take the coal off there and get 30 income from there, but also my little clipper down the bottom, because it doesn't need coal, I get 20 income from that. So with the fleet action as it stands, I'd get a total of £50 income. Let's pop the coal back on there because I'm going to use that for my next example. We'll look at the cargo action. Now this represents one of your big ships doing one large cargo job. Let's come back to this ship here. You're going to get £10 per 1,000 tonnes on your ship. So this ship is 4,000 tonnes. I'd get £40, return the coal to the supply. Only ships that have a tonnage shown can take this action. So the little clipper ships can't do anything, they're a bit useless in that regard. However, all your big steamships will have a tonnage showing. Then we're going to look at the region action here. I'm going to cheat and just pop a little trade house there and pop my coal back on. And maybe let's just look at this cheating. Yeah, let's do that. So let's have a look at the region action. All owners of readied ships in one region are going to generate income. Now, if Rob had his ship there and it was ready, all three of these ships will generate income. So I'd get 30, 60 and Rob would get 50. However, because I have a trade house in that area, I'd get an additional £30. So my total would be £90 and Rob's would be 50 and all of the coal would be removed. Now we're in a position to have a look at the blue ribboned action. Now the blue ribboned action is only achieved by the fastest ship in the North Atlantic. So, oh, look at me just swapping ships out willy-nilly. At the start of the game, the Scotia, which is the only neutral ship in the game, blocks this with its 15 knot speed. However, I've now got this ship here with a speed of 18. So I am the fastest in that region. I can take my coal off. I'm going to gain double the income shown on this ship, so £120. And I'd also get one of these blue ribboned tokens, which would go onto my player board. Now, these you don't pay for because you've kind of earned them the hard way. So, but don't forget, whenever you're putting tiles on your board here, when you start hitting these lower levels, you need to pay the amount shown on the board. If you tie, so if my ship wasn't there and we had the Scotia and the Arizona here at 15 knots, Rob could claim this. If he had 2 coal, he could pay 2 coal, gain the £100 and the blue ribbon. So if there's a tie for the fastest ship, extra coal will get that for you, which basically represents your engineers pushing your ship to the point of blowing up. Then we can have a look at the coal action. Now the coal action enables you to take one of these coal piers from the supply. So I'm going to take that, pop it on my board. It's free because it's the first one. Then I get to take the amount of coal pictured. So I have 2 here, 1 here. So I'm going to get a total of 3 coal to place on my ships. Now this must be done evenly. So I'm going to put 1 there, 1 there. My cutty sark is the clipper, doesn't require coal. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to put it here. Now, if I'd had another one, I couldn't put it here. I'd have to always keep the amount of coal balanced on my ships with a maximum of 3 on one ship. If you've got 3, you're in a good place though. Last but not least, we then have the house action. Now, the house action enables you to place a house. You must have a ship linked to the port, so I could place one in Montreal or Charleston or Sydney. I'm going to place it in Charleston. You cannot have more than one on the same port. However, if my opponent had one there, I could still place there, but I'd have to pay them £30. Once you place a house, you're going to choose one of the trade tokens to take. I'm going to take a green one and pop it on my player board. Of course, not forgetting to pay that cost if it's necessary. So we've reset the board. I'm going to take some actions and show you how they work. So the first phase, oops, I didn't do that. Take them off. First thing I'm going to do is place a ship. Now, this ship hasn't got a speed, so it's a bit pointless placing it in the North Atlantic. I am going to place it here in the Indian Ocean. I'm going to place my captain and a coal on it. Now, Rob's ship here is still the oldest in the area, so the red lantern stays there. So that's phase 1. Phase 2, I've only got one contract at the moment. I'm not going to do anything there. And let's have a look at which of the rondel actions I would like to do. I start the game with £150. I'm really struggling against saying dollars because normally everything's dollars. I'm going to go here to ships and I'm going to have a look at buying some ships. Now, I can buy up to 3. I am actually going to buy, ooh, what's that, 100 and, I haven't got that much. I've got 150, so I'm going to buy the City of Berlin for 90 and the Adriatic for 60, which is 150 total. So I put my money back in the bank and take this one and this one. So these just go into my supply. Put my flags up here. And we're going to place 3 ships into the market. So we've only actually got 1 space on the board. So we need 2 more. So I'm going to pop that there. That one is going to bosh that one out. Move these up and place 3. So don't forget to put your flags on them. That will all become apparent at the end of the game. So pop them. So I've bought ships and that'd be the end of my turn. So again, Rob would go through the 3 phases. I don't know, I'm just going to let you place a house, Rob. I'm all heart. You're going to place a house in Bombay. Then come back to my turn. Now I've got some ships to place, which is quite exciting. What would I like to do? 15 is not fast enough for the blue ribbon, but however, it's got a decent tonnage. So I'm going to pop that down, no, in Auckland. I'm going to put a captain on it and a coal on it. And the Cutty Sark, it's still the oldest ship, so I don't need the red lantern. Again, I'm not going to do anything with my contracts. And I'm then going to move 1 space to the cargo. I spent all my money, so I need some money. So I'm going to take my coal off of here. and I'm going to get £10 for every 1,000 tonnes, so that will give me £50. And that's my turn. So you can see how the game progresses. Obviously, if you want some big money hits, you're going to go for your regions or your fleet actions to generate a lot of income, especially as the game progresses. These ships get more expensive. So let's just have a quick look. This is a number 6 ship, and this is going to cost you £220 before you add any extra cost from the board. So you can see how quickly these go up in value. Here we go. Yeah, here's a 9. That's 210, sorry, 350. So you need to have a solid plan for generating that big income for when these ships come around. You'll also notice that the tonnage is much bigger than these earlier ships, as is the speed. So really keep an eye on some of these numbers to work out where you're going. Also, towards the end of the game, you're going to see these tiles. These are estates. These are going to cost you £250 each. You're going to get a little wild rainbow flag when you take them, and you're also going to get trade tiles for free, which can go onto your board. The game end is triggered, let's put my stat back, oops, when these ship tiles have gone. You're going to take 3 more full rounds and then go on to endgame scoring. So the things you're going to score at the end of the game. Contracts and coals are worth £20 each. That is including coal from your ships on the board. So you're going to cash everything in for £20 each. Each $100 cash you have is worth 1 point. Each trade house and captain that you have on the board is 3 points. Then you're going to score points for your player board. So let's quickly jiggle stuff a bit. Let's say I had all of the coal, and this is where your flags come into play. You're going to multiply the number of flags you have by the point value of your lowest tile. So for my coal, for example, I have 2 flags, and those are worth 9 points each. So I'm going to get 18 points there. My little green flag here is going to be worth 3 points. But then obviously, if I had a stack of them, they'd be worth 3 points each. So over the course of the game, when you're taking your trade houses, when you're taking your boats, you really need to keep an eye on this board. This is where your big points are going to come at the end of the game. And this is where I usually get completely smashed. So, I know everyone really wants to know how this stands up compared to Transatlantic. I have to admit, I only played Transatlantic once, and that was quite a while ago. But my memory of it was that it felt quite clunky. This is really smooth, partly because once you know what you're doing, the turns go quickly. Also, there's really good reminders of what is going on the board. So your main action is here in the bottom corner of the board, your endgame scoring's at the top, and you've also got these handy little cheat sheets that give you a brief summary of each of the actions. So when we first played this, the first half of the game I think was quite slow. And then we kicked off because you know what you're doing and you know what you're trying to achieve. The board also is double-sided. So we've played with the blue side here, whereas there is a more accurate map type effect on the back, which for me personally is what I prefer to play with, but for you guys visually to see, I thought the blue was easier. We like this a lot. It definitely, I hate to do this, it definitely has that Concordia feel in the fact that it is quite rule simple, but then the strategies you have to implement to win are quite tough. Getting the balance on your board right, getting the coal in when you need it. We always seem to struggle with coal, because to do anything with a ship, you need coal. If you don't have coal, you're not getting any money. So you really need to try and keep on top of that. Money's tough as well, but you need coal to generate money. So it is a constant juggle of what you're doing, but we enjoy that, we like that. There is also a little booklet, if I can find it, in the box, yep, that actually tells you about all of the ships. Now, if you're into that kind of thing, there's all the information about the ships. All of these ships existed and were things. It tells you where they were built and everything. So that's actually really nice if you like your history and your flavour. You've got it all there. So that's quite cool. We like Crossing Oceans. We did play the prototype. A couple of things have changed since then, which is always interesting to see. But Crossing Oceans plays 2 to 4, plays quite well at all player counts as well. I'm saying that we've only played it at 2 and 4, but I can't see that 3 is going to be that wildly different. But we have played it at 2 and 4, and it scales up and down really nicely. Crossing Oceans, Gerdts, PD-Verlag. I assume this is going to be creeping into Europe fairly soon. US might take a little bit longer. There it is. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click like, subscribe. You know what to do. I tell you this every week. Do it. Come and say hello on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm going to be at BGG Con in a few weeks. Come and say hello. Come and play a game. That'd be cool. I'm there to play games and not do anything else. So come and play a game with me at BGG Con if you're going to be there. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.